Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of iTalk, presented by the Indian American Chamber of Commerce. My name is Edward D'Aguilera. I'm the Executive Director of the Indian American Chamber, and we welcome you guys again for this crucial information sessions that we have put together to make sure that we are supplying the most important and vital information during this time. And now it seems like we're getting news every day as we enter phase one. Things are also changing. We're excited today that we have an outstanding guest. He is the judge in the Ninth Circuit Court. He was appointed by the governor and will be able to speak about what's happening in the court system today. One of the reasons that I also wanted the judge to come and join us was we also have to understand that there are certain huge economic impacts that do occur in our community, and the legal system is a huge economic impact into our business world. Not only do attorneys work there, but there's also a lot of the side businesses with the court operating in a normal function. There's restaurants, there's catering, there's janitorial duties. There is so much of a domino effect that occurs, and the judge can kind of give us a little bit of a concept of what's going on. So without further ado, we are most welcome to introduce the most honorable Michael Kraynick. So Judge Kraynick, I pass it on over to you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Mr. D'Aguilera, thank you so much for the kind introduction. Everybody who's listening, my name is Mike Kraynick. I'm a circuit judge here in the Ninth Judicial Circuit and for Orange and Osceola County. Currently, I'm assigned to the domestic division here in Osceola County. I have over 2,500 paternity cases, divorce cases, and domestic violence cases. Today is actually my domestic violence return hearing today. We've had 8 hearings this morning, and we're all handling those through technological means. Mr. D'Aguilera was kind enough to ask me to come speak with all of you today and give you an update about what's happening with the court system and how it is that we're still here providing services for you as the public, and what we're doing to still make sure that the wheels of justice are moving forward. Last night, the Florida Supreme Court issued a new administrative order, which kind of sets the guidelines and procedures for what the various circuits and county court judges throughout the state of Florida are to conduct business and how it is that we're supposed to be doing that. So I've got a presentation for everyone. Hopefully this will work, and I'll be able to share my screen to share with everybody what it is in the new order from the Supreme Court and what it is that means for us here in Orange and Osceola County. So hopefully I can get this to work. Okay. I think we're working. Uh-oh, I just got a black screen now. Okay, I think we're working. Yep, okay, here we go. So here's a presentation about the impact of COVID-19 and on the court system. The Florida Supreme Court has a great website, and the link is here. It's floridasupremecourt.org/practice-procedures/administrative-orders. This is the website that's available for the public. It's there for everybody to look at. And this is what the Florida Supreme Court is doing and putting their orders out there to let the public know and let the various circuits and judges know as to what their orders are for how we're to be conducting our business. Locally, you can find all the administrative orders specifically pertaining to how the courts are dealing with the COVID epidemic here in Orange and Osceola County by visiting the Ninth Judicial Circuit's webpage. It's ninthcircuit.org/news/COVID-19-information-and-update. This portion of the Ninth Judicial Circuit's webpage contains all the information and the administrative orders that have been entered into by Chief Judge Don Myers on what the different sections of of the judges are doing here in the Ninth Circuit. So orders pertaining to civil, orders pertaining to family and domestic, orders pertaining to probate, orders pertaining to criminal. What I want to be able to do for everyone today is just kind of step through the brand new administrative order that came down from the Florida Supreme Court yesterday and what the impact is on the court system. I think the first thing that, before we get into the order, that everybody needs to recognize is the court's number one priority is the safety of the public. And there are limited aspects and limited ways that the public's able to come to the courts and participate. But I think it's important that the public know and everybody know that we're still here to serve you guys, that we're here still to be able to hear issues that come before us. And just because you're not able to come here does not mean that we're just sitting by idly not doing anything. That we're still working, the wheels of justice are still turning. There's just ways that we can do that and ways that we cannot do that. And I'm going to step through that with you through the latest administrative order from the Florida Supreme Court. So once the state of Florida started first getting impacted by the COVID-19 epidemic, the Florida Supreme Court on March 13th issued its first major administrative order. And it's Administrative Order 20-13. And it talked about the emergency procedures that the Florida state courts were going to be utilizing to prevent the spread of the epidemic and to make sure that the court systems were still operating. And they gave us some parameters in that March 13th administrative order of what we could and could not do. Yesterday, the Florida Supreme Court issued Amendment 1 to that administrative order. And you can find it at that webpage we talked about earlier on the Florida Supreme Court's webpage. If you want to Google it, you can just put in Florida Supreme Court administrative orders, and it'll take you right to the web page at the Florida Supreme Court's webpage, where you can look through every administrative order they've ever issued, and the default page is what's been issued so far in 2020. The link below is this amendment to the key administrative order about what we're doing in the court system with regard to the COVID-19. The most important thing that's been postponed is jury trials. So all jury trials have been postponed through July 2nd, 2020. That includes all grand jury proceedings, all jury selection proceedings, all criminal jury trials, and any civil jury trials. So anything where you have to impanel a jury of either 6 or 12 persons, and you all have gotten those cards in the mail, hey, it's time for jury duty, please come down to the courthouse, whether you're in Orange or Osceola County, that's all been suspended until July 2nd. We are working on a plan to figure out how to get jury trials running up again. The Florida Supreme Court has put together a commission of 17 persons. The chairperson of that commission is Judge Lisa Munyon. She's a judge here in the Ninth Judicial Circuit, has been a circuit judge for a very long time, and is a great judge. And she is the chairperson of that committee, and she's dealing with other judges and other lawyers throughout the legal community, throughout the state of Florida, to formulate a plan for how we can get back up and running to full capacity. That's still in committee. It's still trying to be figured out what the next steps are. But as of right now, jury trials, anything where a jury of your peers needs to come in to decide an issue, whether it's criminal or civil, will be postponed up until July 2nd of this year. The Florida Supreme Court took a couple more steps, and they also told us as judges, you guys as the public and other attorneys as well, as to what are essential and critical trial court proceedings. These are matters that we as judges are still required to have hearings on. First appearances, criminal arraignments, motions to set or modify bail, juvenile dependency shelter hearings, where if there's been a DCF investigation and there's been allegations of abuse, neglect, malfeasance, abandonment, juvenile delinquency detention hearings, those are criminal charges for persons under the age of 18. Hearings on petitions for injunctions related to the safety of an individual, those are domestic violence petitions. And as a judge in the family circuit, I have the privilege of listening to the public and handling domestic violence injunctions every 3 weeks. I'm going to speak about those in a little more detail in a couple of minutes. but those are essential and critical. Hearings on petitions for risk protection orders. A risk protection order was new legislation that was just put in a couple of years ago in reaction to the Stoneman Douglas shooting. And that is a petition to remove a person's firearms that's effectuated by the sheriff in that local area. So those are still essential and critical hearings that are still happening. Appointments of temporary emergency guardians, Baker Acts and Marchman Acts, and extraordinary writs as necessary to protect constitutional rights. Those are all essential and core proceedings that are still going forward. What's important, and I've highlighted it, of those things that pertain to me in my realm as a domestic judge and a family law judge, hearings on petitions for injunctions related to the safety of an individual. There are 5 types of injunctions that fall under that arm. And those are domestic violence, as identified in Florida Statute 741.30, repeat violence, 784.046 of the Florida statutes. And a repeat violence injunction is where there are 2 incidences of violence within a 6-month period. Dating violence, Florida Statute 784.046. That's a protection against violence in a relationship that's sexual, where there's an expectation of love and nurturing and a relationship there under the statute, and there's some level of violence as defined in that statute. That can give rise to that type of domestic violence injunction. Sexual violence, sexual assault all fall under that ambit. And lastly, stalking, which is defined in 784.0485. So those are the 5 types of injunctions. Today actually is my injunction day. So 3 weeks ago, it was injunction signing. That means anybody can come to the courthouse. The courthouse is still open in Orange and in Osceola County to process petitions for injunctions for protection. So if there's anything I can ask anybody who's listening out there, it's to let your friends and family know that the courthouse is not closed for your protection, and that these domestic violence injunctions for protection are still available for you to come to the courthouse. The doors are not closed to you. They are open for you to come in and fill out these petitions, and you'll have a hearing in 15 days time under the statute. I had 8 of them this morning, and the clerk and the courts have done a really good job of handling those through remote means. And we're going to talk about that right now. So these hearings that we talked about here that are essential and critical, these have to be heard. You cannot punt on these. You cannot wait. These are things that have to be heard. And under the statutes for injunctions for protection, they have to be heard within 15 days. So today I've had 8 of them. And what we're doing to ensure safety and to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 epidemic is we've got a system of checks that are set up. So if you have a petition, you filed it, and you've been notified, either as a petitioner, or as the respondent, the person who has been served with the paperwork for an injunction, and the petitioner is someone who's seeking the protection of an injunction, they get notified of the date and time of the hearing. They come to the courthouse, their temperatures are checked, they're given a short questionnaire to just check on their health. And if they pass the temperature check and pass the questionnaire, they are allowed access to the courthouse. And they are kept separately, keeping in line with the social distancing requirements of the CDC. We have the petitioners go to one room, we have the respondents go to another room, and then their cases are called. They don't come to the courtroom. They don't come within 6 feet of each other. The petitioners go to one room and have a computer, just like you have in front of you or I have in front of me. And the respondent goes to another room with their computer. And through Microsoft Teams, which is an online videographing program similar to like Zoom or Cisco Meeting, or maybe the program we're using now, they're allowed to communicate with me and communicate with each other about all the allegations in their petition. And they can bring witnesses, they can bring evidence, they can bring videos, pictures, anything that they have. And I'm able to look at that in real time right then and there and be able to see both the petitioner and the respondent and listen to everything that they've got to tell me. And then make a ruling right then and there after hearing all the testimony and all the evidence as to whether or not the facts were enough to allow the court to enter, as a matter of law, one of those 5 injunctions for protection. So those are the essential items. Those items we talked about just now are the essential things that the Florida Supreme Court says still need to happen. The Florida Supreme Court went on further and defined non-essential or non-critical court proceedings that can be conducted. These are to be conducted remotely through technological means. And the list is here: alternative dispute resolution proceedings. That means like mediations. I know that here in Osceola County and Orange, I believe as well, the Dispute Resolution Center are conducting videographic mediations, just like this, through Zoom or through Skype, in order to try to resolve some of the issues that may be happening in any case, whether it's a family case, a civil case. You don't have mediations in criminal cases. We can also conduct status, case management, or pretrial conferences through the remote means, and I have been. And that allows me to get all the parties, the dad and mom, or the husband and the wife, and their attorneys in an environment just like this, so I can see them, I can talk to them about the issues in the case, I can really understanding what's happening with that particular family, figure out what all the issues are, and set it for trial, or set it for some kind of motions. There may be a motion that's out there that needs to be heard before we can go to trial. Basically, take the temperature on the case and figure out what needs to be done in order to move that case forward. A pretrial conference is a conference that takes place right before trial, and it talks about setting deadlines for when we're going to go to trial, witness deadlines, exhibit deadlines, the close of discovery, all those things to ensure that nothing pops up at the last minute right before we get to trial, and set a really smooth course and a smooth path in order to get to trial. Non-evidentiary and evidentiary motion hearings in all case types are non-critical. We've been conducting those remotely. I know that judges in both Orange and Osceola County are having meetings through Microsoft Teams in order to have these types of hearings. We're taking testimony from parties, from other witnesses, looking at the submission of evidence, and are still able to have hearings and give the parties direction, whether it's a civil case, a criminal case, or a family case, and make decisions to allow that case to move forward. County court misdemeanor cases, they're still having arraignments and pleas. Those are being done through remote ways. Hearings in juvenile delinquency cases, those can be done remotely as well. Hearings in non-criminal traffic infraction cases, those can be done remotely. Problem-solving court cases and hearings and wellness checks, that may be drug court or mental health court, in order to have those status conferences. And then non-jury trials. So non-jury trials, per the Florida Supreme Court, can be conducted remotely. I have had conversations with my administrative judge, Judge Heather Pinder Rodriguez, who bounces between both Orange and Osceola County. She has 2.5 days a week. I know you're like thinking, what does that mean? How's it 2.5 days a week? So she has Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I believe, here in Osceola County, and every other Friday here in Osceola County. And she also has a docket in Orange County. This month, the family division, the domestic division here in Osceola County, will be having, if the parties want to, trials through remote means, through Microsoft Teams, to try to get those cases heard and moving forward. If the parties don't, and they want to wait, to have the opportunity to come in person to the court, they can do that, and that's their decision to do so. But I want to provide that avenue for them, that if they want to proceed with a trial through the remote means, they can do that through Microsoft Teams. But there is an exception to remote non-jury trials. The exception is criminal, juvenile delinquency, or termination of parental rights petitions and dependency cases. So that's like where DCF's involved and there's allegations of abuse, neglect, or abandonment by the parents of the children. Those are not going to be permitted to be conducted remotely. So what we're trying to do, and if there's anything I think that I can stress for those who are listening, is that we're here to serve you guys, that we're here to serve the public, we're here to serve the attorneys, and we're here to listen to all the matters that come before us. We're just not sitting around not doing anything. We're trying to be as busy as possible and ensure that justice still moves forward. I know that may be difficult sometimes if there's a jury trial and you're a plaintiff or a defendant in a jury trial, and you want to figure out what's going to happen. I can't move that forward for you. None of the judges here can move that forward for you. We want to, but we can't. Criminal cases, it's the same thing. But as soon as we get back into full bore and the Florida Supreme Court allows us to get back into full bore, there's going to be a step-up program. I don't know what that step-up program is going to be, but we will have the opportunity to slowly bring people back in, because I think it's essential that we focus on the safety first, and that the safety of the public is paramount, and that once we have those protections in place, then I think we'll slowly be able to get back into normal speed, and acting as judges and acting as advocates allowing the advocates in the community to speak for their causes. So thank you so much again for the opportunity to be able to present today and just give you an update of what's happening here, specifically in the Ninth Judicial Circuit, and based on the Florida Supreme Court's order of last night. And I'm certainly willing to take any questions that anybody may have, if I can answer them.
Hi, thank you so much again. Amazing information. I know if this is not your world, this actually does have a domino effect. So thank you again, Your Honor, for sharing this information. And here are a couple quick questions. I have three that I've gotten through the comment section that I want to ask. First is a simple one. Can you tell us what the geographic boundaries of the Ninth Judicial Circuit is? I think that we know we live in it, but we don't know what the actual boundaries are.
Mr. Jaguar, if I heard you correctly, I think the question was, what are the geographical boundaries of the Ninth Judicial Circuit?
Correct.
Okay. It would include all of Orange and Osceola County.
Perfect. The other question that we seem to be getting is in dealing with abuse cases. You talked a great deal, and I know that's the area that you are also concentrating on. Are you seeing an uptick in those cases? Is there a higher level because of the circumstances and the stay-at-home orders and everything? Are you seeing something a little bit of a higher uptick?
I have been seeing a slower uptick. At the beginning in March, when there was when the COVID-19 epidemic first hit us, I think there was a misconception out there that the courthouse was closed. So it's kind of been like a staircase. It's kind of been going like this and kind of ratcheting up that way. But I think that the public is starting to understand and learn that the courthouse is not closed and that we are open to hear your woes, your complaints, your concerns, especially in the domestic violence realm. So I know in monitoring the files, because I get copied on everything that gets filed, there has been an uptick, and I expect it to continue to increase. Statistically, if you're in an abusive relationship, it takes you 7 times before you finally, if you're the person who's being abused, it takes you 7 times before you finally file the paperwork. I mean, 7 times going to the courthouse and going back home. 7 times filing the paperwork and not submitting it, or filing the paperwork and then not showing up to the hearing. And it's the 7th time is when you're finally willing, ready, and able to take that step forward to get the help that you deserve. So I think that we're going to see more and more and more as the impacts and the fallout from the economy, with people getting furloughed and people losing their jobs and not being able to work, being stuck at home. And if they were already in an abusive relationship, it potentially could ratchet up. So yeah, I've been seeing the staircase effect of domestic violence injunctions coming up, and I anticipate that it will continue to do so.
The other question is a little bit more associated with the business community. A lot of, as we enter phase one and we continue to progress and slowly opening up our businesses, and our consumers are getting out into the public. The question from our members is, do you foresee or project an uptick in lawsuits towards corporations that may not be doing particular things that may enhance the spread of COVID? In other words, are there going to be more lawsuits from the consumer to these corporations?
I would be speculating. I think it's possible. I certainly think you're going to see an uptick in mortgage foreclosures and evictions. Right now,
Gotcha.
There's a stay in the Ninth Judicial Circuit on evictions and mortgage foreclosures. So the court is not processing them. They will not enforce them. They will not issue writs of possession. They will not remove anyone from their home. They will not set any homes for sale on the courthouse steps. So those protections are in effect, but with the trickle up effect, we'll call it, of the economics, persons being furloughed, not paying their rent to their landlord, who can't pay the mortgagee, you're just getting, or mortgagee. So you're going to see an uptick, I think, in that kind of work. But as to lawsuits by the consumer to various businesses, I think it's possible, but without knowing specific facts. I think that all members of the judiciary here in Central Florida, all the way up to the Panhandle, all the way down to Monroe County and Key West, we're going to be very, very busy, more so when we are now, once we start to get out of this, because I do think you're going to see perspective and more family law cases. You're going to see an uptick potentially in divorce filings, an uptick in domestic violence petitions, more civil actions, including evictions and mortgage foreclosures, potential claims by consumers, potential claims by businesses against businesses for failure to perform under a contract or anything along those lines. So I do see a severe uptick in the next months, if not years, based on how the COVID epidemic has affected our area here locally and statewide and nationally, for that matter.
The other question, and you talked a little bit about the jury trials. Obviously, they're not happening right now. How is the court, when they are able to happen, what is the type of backlog that you are foreseeing? And again, it's speculation, but we know that there's a backlog. So what do you project? How long or what is the court going to do to get through these jury trials?
Sure. It depends on the docket that you're in. It depends if you're a criminal judge or a civil judge. I know that in the criminal realm, you have 2 weeks of hearings, 2 weeks of jury trials, and that's your calendar every month. So since March, those criminal law judges have not had any jury trials. Now, there's a concept called the right to speedy trial, and that's a concept where if you're an accused, you invoke that right. You have the ability to say, I want to go to trial in a blank amount of time. And you're required to, under the law of the Supreme Court, to invoke that right. The Florida Supreme Court has stayed, which means that no one's required to go to trial. So every week that goes by that someone's supposed to be in trial, that's another trial that gets continued. That's another impact of speedy trial. And that's just with the criminal realm. That doesn't take into account all the civil trials that haven't been able to go, whether they're 2-week-long medical malpractice trials or 12-week-long construction defect trials. I can say that the number one priority is going to be ensuring the safety of the public and coming in to make their service and to provide a service to the community of acting as jurors. And our number one priority is going to be their safety, to make sure that they're going to be safe. So there is going to be a humongous backlog, and how we're going to deal with that specifically, we're still trying to figure that out. I don't have a direct answer, but there will be a plan in effect to handle making sure number one, that the safety of the public is taken care of before we roll out 400 jury summons for you to come to the courthouse to potentially serve as a juror. So I think once the setup is established for the safety, I think then we'll see how we're going to handle the backlog and then the going forward on cases. I'd love to be able to give you more specifics, but I just don't know.
No, we understand, and thank you for giving us that information. Your Honor, I appreciate so much. The Indian American Chamber of Commerce appreciates it. Our community, our members appreciate you taking the time and really educating us and giving us some of this really pertinent and wonderful info. I do want to share a couple of quick things before we sign off for our iTalk. A reminder to our members, we are right now offering free member spotlights to any of our members currently, and this will be free. We will put them up on our social platforms. We want to make sure that we do our part to help our economy, to help our members, to make sure that we push our businesses. All you have to do is email info@iaccorlando.com. Email us with your business. Give us your info. We will be more than happy to put it on our member spotlights. I also want to let everyone know that on May 12th, or Pranama, that we're having another a session here. Please join us. You're going to see it on Facebook. You're going to get the emails from it. But we are here. We are ready to serve. Also to our members, we are right now putting together information and emails that we'll be sending out to you guys. One might include a survey. We want to be here to best serve our community. And so we just want to kind of give that information and let everyone know that these are things that are happening. We have meetings that are set up with our leadership to make sure that we are on top of this, that we are here to serve our community. We're here to serve our members. Again, thank you so much to the Honorable Michael Kraynick. The information that we got was outstanding. It is a domino effect that we see from this. The court system's economic impact is grand. It's huge. From lawyers to cleaning to food, it is a fingerlings that happen everywhere. So you guys, Your Honor, coming here and telling us what's going on and what's happening and how we are adjusting in this new normal is invaluable information, and we are so appreciative. Thank you again for taking the time and speaking to us.
Sir, thank you so much for the opportunity. Always here to serve and educate. It's a phenomenal opportunity to be able to provide to the public, and I want to continue to do it for a good long time. So if you need me to come back, I'm certainly willing, ready, and able to do that. Continue to keep every one of you updated on what we're doing here in the Ninth Judicial Circuit, to how we can continue to serve all your members in the community at large for a good long time.
Good, sir. You took the words right out. When this is over and we are now on the other side, we would be absolutely honored for you to come and to do a more traditional in-person Q&A presentation. I think some of this information that our members are just starving for, and we're so appreciative that you took the time. Absolutely. Everyone, thank you. Stay safe. Remember, keep on washing your hands. We'll be and support our small businesses. See everyone very soon.